Not many smartphones tick so many boxes in my book that you almost cannot find a bad thing to say, and the Vivo V23 5G is one of those devices. In today's video, we'll see everything there is to know about this device and why this might even be your next phone. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'd love it if you could hit that like button so people can get to see the analysis on this device, this very reflective device that we're about to share here. All right, without further ado, let's get to the video. Taking that plastic wrap off the V23's box, you get this shiny box that has 5G inscription on the bottom. That's how you know you're in business. The V23 inscription right at the center there follows as well. And opening the box, the first thing you get is the V23 5G, which we'll get to later. Underneath the plastic separator, you get the silicone case, warranty card, quite the large charging brick, headphones, USB-C charging cable, the SIM ejector tool, and a USB-C to 3.5mm headphone adapter, since it comes with a headphone, and of course you don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack on the phone. Taking that wrap off the Vivo V23 shows you that color changing back and the flat sides that stand on their own. Now let's talk about the fascinating design of the V23. If we are going to give an award for smartphones with the best design this year, this device would definitely be in at least the top 5. At first sight, I absolutely love what Vivo did with the design of this device. The device I got came in the color called Sunshine Gold, as Vivo calls it. The exciting thing about this color is that while you can see the matte gold finish on here, moving it around creates this beautiful color manipulation that almost looks like you have a rainbow splash on your device. It comes in a box-like shape, very similar to the design of the latest Apple iPhones. However, what the V23 does better is with the beauty and the relatively compact design. The front and the back of the device are made out of glass material, framed by a metallic material on all 4 sides. One thing that really impressed me with the design of this device was the camera bump. Most of the devices designed with a camera bump would usually have such a massive bump that it becomes distracting. However, on the V23, this is an almost flat camera bump housing a 64-megapixel triple camera setup, and in my opinion it actually looks well blended in. Away from the back and to the sides of the phone, on the phone's right side is where you have the volume rockers and a pressable power button. I wish it was a fingerprint reader though. While the left side is empty, the top of this device has one hole for the microphone, and the bottom is where you have the mono speaker, the Type-C charging port, another microphone, and the SIM tray. You only have a dual SIM slot, but it doesn't look like you have a memory card slot on here. I don't know, but something about having the SIM tray at the bottom of this device, just looks quite interesting. Oh, and yes, this device is of course missing a 3.5mm headphone port. However, the USB-C to 3.5mm converter that comes in the box will be useful if you must use wired headphones. The wired headphones that come with it, at least, or your own wired headphone of preference. On the other hand, you can go wireless, get Bluetooth earbuds. Thankfully, there are lots of quality wireless earbuds on the market that you can just buy or cop for what we call shikini money. You can check my last video for one budget wireless headphone that I would recommend and why I would recommend it. Now, moving to the front, let's discuss the display. The front of the Vivo V23 is an almost bezel-less display with 91.04 screen to body ratio. Guys, 91.4. This 6.44-inch AMOLED screen has a resolution of 2400 by 1080p with an aspect ratio of 20:9 and a 90Hz refresh rate. One of the first things you will notice on the front of this device is that it comes with a small notch, again bringing closer to the design of the latest iPhones. However, this notch is not just a design imitation. This notch houses not one, but 2 selfie cameras. On paper, these are already very interesting features for a smartphone screen, and it is very evident in how the display performs. Watching movies and streaming content on this device was also very enjoyable. It is definitely not the biggest screen on the market, but the huge screen to body ratio makes up for the size of this, the screen, and it allows you to enjoy every bit of this display. It's also worth mentioning that the screen was as as fun to use as it was fun to watch. Scrolling, tapping, and typing were more interesting than you would expect since it's not a 120Hz display. The screen of this device has a refresh rate of 90Hz like I mentioned. However, it has been so well optimized that you would almost not feel the absence of 120Hz. I also think that Vivo has added a bit of animation to the screen to help it feel a bit smoother. There was a time I just picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really smooth. Even with playing games, if you have a stable internet connection, you may also not feel the effect of not having 120Hz. However, this is also heavily dependent on the performance features of the phone. Now, let's get into the performance. The Vivo V23 runs on MediaTek's Dimensity 920 chip coupled with an octa-core 2.5 GHz CPU, Mali G68 GPU, and the unit that Vivo sent me came with Android 12 pre-installed and a configuration of 8 gigs of RAM plus an extra 4 gigs via memory fusion and 128 gigabytes of storage on this guy. All of these sound very impressive again, but how do they perform in hand? Within the time that I've had this device, the V23 met my performance needs without any lag. Playing multiple games and merely minimizing them instead of closing them ultimately did not affect the device's performance. Even when the device got to critical battery level, the device was still performing optimally. Speaking of gaming, while this device is not a powerhouse or a workstation for gamers, it offers an extra feature for gaming that helps it perform at its best. The Vivo V23 comes with a game booster feature that automatically starts running once you open a game to boost the device's performance for that specific game. However, you can also turn it off from the control center by swiping down on your screen or in the device's settings. I'm definitely not a gaming expert, but based on my personal experience, there was not that big of a difference when I tried gaming with it and gaming without the game boost feature. That is not to say that there isn't any difference though. I did notice a slight decline in graphic quality of games that I played without the booster. However, as far as speeds, there was pretty much no lag with the games except one that was closed without reason one time. Another interesting game related feature on the Vivo V23 is 4D game vibration. This feature is supposed to make gaming more immersive by giving you feel of effects like vibration of a gun. Sadly, the device said that I did not have any games that supported the feature and I couldn't seem to find one that supported the feature. If you are not a very heavy user running tasking apps and games all the time, I think the Vivo V23 5G is solid enough to hold its own. One of the biggest power trends with the newest smartphones in the market is offering both a big battery and a fast charging capacity, and the Vivo V23 is also a member of this club. The battery on the Vivo V23 is a 4200 mAh battery. Now, of course, this is not the most giant battery you'll find on the market. However, for its level and the size of this phone, I think the device has been well optimized to use this battery well. In reality, after a full charge on this device at the start of my day, I used it as an everyday user would use their phone, scrolling through social media, apps, texting, taking some photos, videos, watching a couple of videos, and of course, a little bit of gaming here and there. Within the time frame of using this device, this phone battery lasted for an entire day, and the battery still did not die until I plugged it in. I have to say that I was pretty impressed by how the device performed battery-wise. With this kind of devices, the most significant factor is how much you use your phone and what you use it to do. If you're someone with a lot of screen time, it might not last as long, but the fun part about it is that, as I mentioned earlier, it also comes with a fast charging capabilities. The Vivo V23 is designed with the capacity to handle 44-watt fast charging, as I mentioned in the unboxing section. It comes with a capable 44-watt fast charger in the box. However, I was particularly impressed by the charging speed of this device. After using this phone until it shut down, the 44-watt fast charger took this phone from 0 to 34% in the first 10 minutes of charging. It was already more than half full by 10 extra minutes. That is 55%. The device eventually got full after about 43 minutes of charging. So 0 to 100% in 43 minutes. With the charger that comes in the box of this device, you can easily plug this in and this device will be good to go within the next 30 minutes of charging. In fact, even the next 10 minutes. And the battery will still last you very well. However, I still have to point out again that the battery performance is heavily dependent on how you use your phone. When it comes to the cameras, you've got an exciting array of, an exciting collection of cameras on the Vivo V23. You first of all got a good set of front-facing cameras on here, a 50 megapixel wide camera and an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera as front-facing cameras. You also have dual LED dual tone flash setup on here. What does this seemingly fancy term even mean? Well, the front flash can change colors between 3 modes: cold white, default, and warm yellow. This front camera can also shoot 4K footage in 30 frames per second or FPS and 1080p at the same 30 frames per second. When we move to the rear cameras, we can see that there are 3 cameras on here, so making a total of 5 cameras on this phone. The first one is actually an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera that can shoot wide angle shots. The second camera, the one in the middle, is the primary camera. It's a 64 megapixel wide camera. And finally, the third one is the 2 megapixel macro camera, which I know I have to say that these cameras did somewhat meet my expectations, and we'll see shortly. You've got electronic image stabilization for video on here, a dual LED flash. The camera can also shoot HDR and 1080p videos, 4K in 30 frames per second, all of that good stuff. Now, specs aside, let's actually see what this camera can capture both in videos and in photos. For selfies, I did notice that pictures are really sharp in great lighting. Not just that though, you can even zoom in your selfies up to 2x or 2 times. It's not a big deal, but it exists here and not many other cameras can zoom in their selfies. When it comes to portrait selfies, you can expect some quality shots. You will also notice that the edge of the image is cut really sharp and the blur can get intense, making it look overly processed or overly digital. You can adjust the point of focus on the camera even after the fact, after you've taken your picture. Although I've seen this on other devices, it's cool to have a feature on like this on here. Shooting with the rear camera will result in quality footage, especially portrait shots. Although you experience the same level of software processing on here, you end up with images that are at least usable. The level of HDR and saturation detail is also present when your subject wears colorful clothing. Ultra wide shots on the Vivo V23 will definitely capture a vast 120-degree angle for your shots. Just expect a little bit of distortion in your images, but that's just likely with ultra wide lenses. The wide pictures on here capture beautifully. Definitely not as warm in color as the ultra wide, of course. It is more balanced in color, and when you zoom to 5x or 5 times, you will still get to see some details. With this camera, you can go up to a maximum of 10 times zoom and you can still legibly read texts. You also got 64 megapixel ultra HD mode on here, which you can activate going to the high resolution section of the camera's features in the more settings. The photos you take with this camera mode will definitely help you achieve that high quality picture. The 2 megapixel camera on here is also something you can't ignore. At first, it's like, okay, another extra camera that Vivo just added to fill up the back to get 3 cameras, but I think there's a use case for this one. It's a good enough close-up camera, and I did a small test. You see, if you take the 15 note, you'll find some inscriptions on it. You usually will be able to read this, just looking at it if you squint or look really close. But by taking a close-up photo on of this note, you can sort of get an enlarged view of this text written on the note. I sincerely think it's pretty cool, and you can have many other use cases for this or not. When it comes to night shots on the Vivo V23, night mode seems to be sharper, while the standard photo adds some color to your image in comparison. So it's more of a trade-off at this point, whether you want more colors or you want more sharpness. When it comes to video quality, here's what I got from the selfie recording. How's it going, guys? So this is the front-facing camera video quality of the Vivo V23 in 4K. Let me know what you think about this video quality as well as sound quality in the comment section down below. 4K footage from the V23's back camera didn't seem to disappoint at all. The colors seem balanced for a smartphone, and you can zoom in and retain some sort of detail. What I really liked though was that comparing the shaky footage that you typically get from your smartphone's camera video can quickly disappear once you turn on ultra stabilization. Although you get a crop, it does look steady and it does look smooth. There are other modes like dual recording where you can record both with your back and your front camera at the same time. any of the cameras you can even switch up, and you can record panorama, live photos, slow motion, video up to 240 frames per second, time-lapse mode, pro mode, AR stickers, documents, and even double exposure. All of these can be used creatively for those who are interested in it, and it's just interesting to know that you have so many options packed inside this very compact smartphone. For device security, you get 3 options to unlock: face unlock, an in-display fingerprint scanner, and the good old pattern. The in-display fingerprint on this device worked pretty swiftly, and I was most impressed by the face unlock feature and how well it performed. As for the speakers, I was also impressed with the audio that came out of this device. For a smartphone speaker, it is pretty loud, and it's also clear. It has a decent level of bass and tones that keeps the audio straight out of the speaker relatively enjoyable. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with all of the features on the Vivo V23 5G. I could see all the active efforts that the brand is putting in to make this device as unique as possible, or as exciting as possible to use. For 239,900 naira, approximately $510, which is less than half the price of most flagship 5G devices on the market right now, I think the Vivo V23 5G is worth the cost. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Will you join the train to order this device? Let's chat in the comment section down below. That is all for me, guys. Please be sure to smash that like button if you found this video useful in any way at all, and of course hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon beside it so you'll be the first to know when I post a new video. So you just turn on notifications. That's pretty much it from me, guys. Drop those comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the very next video.